Right, so welcome to tonight's webinar in collaboration with Altrui, Egg Donation and Fertility. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to be joined by three amazing women who I can't wait to get to know a little bit more about. And just to firstly introduce myself, so I am Becky Kearns, also known as Defining Mum on Instagram, and I am a mum through egg donation. So for those of you who don't know me, I went through early menopause when I was just 28, and ultimately after 5 years with my own eggs, I couldn't conceive, and so we went down the path of egg donation, which wasn't an easy decision to make, and I worried about lots and lots of things, but I'm now so glad that I did make that choice, and to speak with some people who actually made that possible for other people is such a privilege. And it's something that I always get quite emotional about, because I know from my own experience that it is a completely life-changing act, and I can't think of many other things in life that are so life-changing other than donating your eggs and allowing somebody to have a family. And that's what it's allowed me. I now have 3 girls. My eldest, Mila, she's just turned 6, and I've got 4-year-old twins, Esker and Lena. And the older they get, the more curious I get about their egg donor, and I just wish I could thank her, because she has changed my life and changed the lives of not just me, but my husband and so many other of us around. So my family and everyone else, you get to now experience life with them, and they are amazing. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with you ladies, and thank you for joining us. So we have Sarah, give us a wave, Sarah. We have Louise, and we have Neve here tonight, and we are using different names, so just to be clear, because obviously the anonymity until 18 laws, we want to make sure that we're protecting anonymity. So I've often wondered why donors choose to donate and what motivates someone to go and do such a thing, because I know from going through IVF myself, it's not a simple thing to do, it's not easy, there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and also it's quite physically demanding as well. So the first question I would love to pose, I'm going to come to you first, Louise, is just what led you to donate, and what were your motivations?
So I've got 2 children of my own, and it was very much, I didn't have to try for them. And that's not a brag or anything, you know, and some people can, some people can't. They came to me very, very easy. I had some friends who suffered with fertility sort of struggles. And for me, it was just very much, when I looked into it, it just seemed like, you know, 2-3 weeks of my time, you know, like you said earlier, would completely change the lives of not just the recipient, but any partners. It made them parents, it made people grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and all sorts. So, but for me, it was a bit of a no-brainer, and it was just the most selfless thing you can do for somebody. For, you know, but as far as I could see it, it was a few weeks of my time. That was it, and I completely changed 3 people's life. I've done it 3 times.
That's amazing. And how did you hear about it in the first place? It's not something I'd heard about.
Yeah, weirdly, Twitter. I was
really?
scrolling. Yeah, really weird. I was talking to my mum, but it came up. I was talking to my friend who'd unfortunately suffered a miscarriage, and we were talking about sperm donation. Everybody knows about sperm donation, right? So I was talking to my mum, and I'm convinced phones listen. Of course they do. So I was scrolling through Twitter, maybe a couple of days later, and an ad came up from Altrui. And I said, have you considered egg donation? I sort of went, oh, that's weird. I was just, you know, literally talking about that a few days. So I clicked on it, and it was just, you know, filled in some information to find out some more. And I had a phone call the next day, and the rest was history. And like I said, I went on to do it 2 more times, so 3 in total.
Amazing, amazing. So you changed the lives of 3 people, not just once, but 3. That's incredible. Thank you so much, Louise. And Neve, I'm going to come to you next. What is it that led you to choose to donate your eggs?
So similar to Louise, I had one of my friends who'd struggled to conceive, and she'd been quite public about it. She put it on Facebook, so I'd seen that, and I'd seen all the hurt that it caused her, and so I just kind of thought, I don't want kids right now, maybe when I'm got like a little bit older, but I thought it must just feel horrible to really, really want that and not be able to have that. And then if I just do something really simple as like a couple of injections, I can give somebody that chance. So yeah, it makes me a bit sad to think about recipients, but it kind of seemed like a no-brainer when I was thinking about how much she'd struggled to do it and how simple it seemed to me to stop all this for somebody else. So
yeah, that's incredible. And just through hearing somebody else go through that's what made you realise that that's something you wanted to do. That's amazing. I just want to say thank you to you all. I'll be saying that all night. But Sarah, what about you? What led you to donate?
Yeah, so we lost my father-in-law. He passed away from cancer, and he wasn't biologically my husband's father. He was stepfather, and he took on 5 boys that weren't his own. And it really got me thinking about the influence he had on their lives. Even though they weren't a blood relation, he was a really amazing father figure. And again, through Facebook, this ad popped up about egg donation. And I thought, you know what? I thought to myself, I'm actually just providing an ingredient. All the hard work is actually done by the mums that carry, by the fathers that support, the grandparents. That's family. That is being a mum. That is being a dad. And for me, you're asking me to, like you say, Louise, like Neve said, 2 weeks of my time to provide an ingredient to give somebody a chance, to give somebody the opportunity to have a family and be a family. To me, that's a no-brainer. That's a really easy ask for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's incredible that like your own life experiences, you've kind of seen that kind of non-biological link and what that can give. And I think for anyone listening who's thinking about going down this route, that was a really difficult thing for me to get my head around at one point. I was thinking like, well, surely I wouldn't be the real mom because I'm not related by DNA and we're not genetically related. But then I started to redefine, like you've just said, Sarah, I started to redefine what it meant to be a mom, and okay, started focusing less on what I would be losing in terms of that genetic connection, but also more so on what we would gain and what everyone else around us would gain and what we would get to experience, and the whole concept of nurture and being able to raise them within our family. So yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much. And just to say to anyone listening, if you did want to ask a question, like there is the Q&A box, so feel free to pop them in there. So the next thing I want to ask is about the process. So going through from signing up. So Louise, I'll come to you first again, seeing as I came to you the first time. But just what was the process like with Altrui, and how did it go up to sort of finding a match?
So I was quite lucky, as in the hardest part for me was so when you sort of register and things, and you set up like it's almost like a profile. It felt like a bit like a dating profile, because it was like your likes and dislikes. And I was like, I like long walks on the beach, and I was like, oh my god, what am I saying? And it was so that was a bit weird for me, like setting it, and it was, like I said, a bit like a dating profile. And I found a match really, really quickly. They were looking for a certain thing, which I had, the hair, obviously. So it was really, really quick. And then I would kind of go to, it was, the initial tests, you go up to the clinic, obviously can't say where, but, go to the clinic.
Yeah.
And it was I just remember thinking like, what's the drama? Because, you think people got always loads of work and loads of, a bit like Sarah was saying. I was a bit like, what's the drama? It's going up, having a scan, coming back, looking at all these amazing follicles that were growing on my ovaries. It was really incredible, really fascinating to be part of and to see. And then the procedure itself, you're in and out the same day. I remember the hospital I was in was beautiful, and it was like a hotel, and I thought, oh, can I stay the night? And they said no. But it was no, it was wonderful. And just the contact from Altrui, it was, they knew what was happening before I'd even got off the phone with booking, and they were calling like, are you okay, do you need anything? So it was literally like having somebody there to hold your hand and tell you how amazing you are every 30 seconds. Who wouldn't want that? You know? So yeah, that was just a little my experience there.
And in terms of the matching process, obviously I know what it's like from the recipient side, but obviously there's another person who finds out that they've been matched as well. How did you feel when you've been matched, and did you find out much information about the recipients? I imagine not so much.
No. So no, I mean we don't know anything about yourself. You know, the only thing that I have were so I got letters after the donations, the 3 donations I did. I received letters from the recipients and cards and things like that, but even then their names were redacted, so you know we don't know anything about you, and I would love to know everything, because just, you know, I'm nosy and things. So but I personally would have loved to have known you know, I would have loved to have met them, but I think it's one of the, you know, obviously it is an anonymous process, but when it's, you know, you get the call to say you've been chosen, you know, that we've got this couple, and it's a bit like, oh, me, oh, you know, thanks. It is really lovely, and you just think, wow, you know, someone, it's not like a bank, it's not like an egg bank, it's not a transaction, you know, you've got someone waiting right there, you know, they're literally, as you're getting excited about appointments, they're getting excited about appointments. So it's really beautiful, it really is.
That's incredible. Thank you. And what about you, Neve? What's the process like for you?
The process, it's fairly straightforward, and like Lou said, it's not as intense as it was going to be. Leading up to the match as well, it was really, really short. Like I finally filled out the law profile, which I did spend a lot of time on, because I was thinking someone's going to look at this and that's all they're going to have to kind of see. Similar or not. I put that in, and then a few days later I got a phone call, which was quite emotional for me. I came off it and I had kind of emotions. Like, on one hand I was really happy because I was like, oh great, I get to help someone, but then I was really sad because I was like, the only reason I'm helping is because someone's like struggling. So that was a little bit difficult for me, but we got over that fairly quickly, and Archery really supportive with everything as well. So like that whole process, I was getting more and more excited for them, thinking we're getting there, and any questions I had were just answered like super quick as well.
And it's amazing to hear your excitement on the other side, because there's always excitement for us because of the possibilities, but you're excited as well about the chance to make that difference. And what about you, Sarah, in terms of the process you went through?
Yeah, I mean, again, once I decided this is what I was going to do, and spoke to the team, it was a really quick match. Like Louise, writing the profile was probably the hardest thing, because talking about myself is not something I can do very easily, and I think a lot of us find hard to do. And it did feel a bit like I was filling out a dating web page. But yes, and it was a great feeling to know that there was somebody out there that wanted me. You know, it's a lovely feeling to be wanted. And based on, you know, to a point, very limited information, or information that I don't think sets me particularly aside from anybody else, doesn't make me particularly special. You know, I don't think I do anything particularly different from any other women. I've got children, I work, and I'm married. There's a lot of us out there like that. There's nothing special or above average about me. And, you know, the lovely process with our jury was very supportive. Everything was really clear. It was explained. I knew what the expectation was, which every appointment was about. And it wasn't just the physical health that was supported, but also the emotional side of things as well. You know, and there were opportunities to talk things through and speak about certain feelings and emotions that this process might bring up. And actually, on the day of donation, it was really emotional. I remember crying after the procedure, because, like you said, Louise, everybody was like, "You're amazing, you're fantastic," and I was like, I'm not saying anything special. I've just provided something that, you know, effectively we lose every month. And actually, if that gives somebody an opportunity, then have all the opportunities you want. I think the biggest thing I remember was the first injection. Like, you know, pinching that flabby bit and injecting. That was my first sort of moment of pause. But I said, you know what, I'm not doing these injections for me, I'm doing these injections for somebody else. So I can take that little
It's amazing because I know it's a big thing to get your head around going through IVF when you've never injected yourself before and you have to suddenly start doing that, and you're not even doing it for your own kind of family, you're doing it for someone else. And you know, you were saying there's nothing special, but that is so special. What you've done is because you've provided half of the DNA for a child that will change people's lives and also wouldn't exist otherwise. And it's just incredible, that opportunity that you are affording people, where I still think now if egg donation didn't exist, I wouldn't have those girls that have just been put to bed down the hall just now. And I just say I can't even think about it because it just makes me feel really sad. And now I look back and if my own eggs have worked, I wouldn't have them, and that again, I wouldn't change it for the world. So it is incredible what you've done. I wonder how many times I'll say that word throughout. It's
coming.
Why? You'll come out, it'll be like after the egg collection procedure, you'll come off, your ego will be. But yeah, it is, and I'm sure everyone watching will agree. And so what I want to know about now, do you know, so how much do you get to know about when there's a pregnancy? Do you get to know when a child is born, and how much do you get to know? So I'll come to you, Louise, again.
Yes, well, we know as much as you are happy to tell Altrui.
Okay.
So you know, the more you tell Altrui, and trust me, like I'm sure Neve and Sarah will agree, like I want to know everything. I want to know if there's a pregnancy, I want to know when it's, but well, I know obviously when is a bit different, a bit difficult, but you know, I want to know. And luckily, so I might be jumping the gun a bit, but
That's all right.
two of my donations resulted in babies. So, and I know roughly when they were born, and I know the sexes as well. So it's, and I was like, oh my God, I just want to know everything. But yeah, we only know as much as the recipients are happy to tell Altrui.
Yeah. And just to touch on that, with you saying you want to know, and like one of the questions that came through is about, are you curious to know more, and if so, why? What is it that makes you curious, and what would you like to know ideally?
Everything. I would love to so I know that there was a girl born X date, and I know that there was a boy born another time, and I just think, like, wow, just to know they're out there somewhere. If I'm in a big city, am I going to walk past them and not know who? I mean, I think I'd like to think I'd know, but it's are they okay? How are the parents? How's mum and dad doing? Because as far as I was, and I know, Becky, you put something on your Instagram about it's love, not DNA, that makes and my personal thing is, biologically, and only biologically, I'm the mother, but I'm not their mum.
Yeah.
And that's how I sort of choose that's how I see it, and that's how I try and explain to people. And like Sarah said, you guys did the hard work. You've done the pregnancy and the labor and everything else.
The sleepless nights and
I was like, that's
yeah. And I think what you say there, I think it's one of those things, it's really hard to get your head around the whole concept of who plays what role here, and what will I be, and what will and I think you're right. And I think it's about knowing that both are true. One doesn't take away from the other. So you are the genetic mother, parent of that child, but you are not. It's in the sense of the noun rather than the verb. But
nurturing
in terms of being mum and mummy is the recipient, and that's who I am. But I think it took me a while to get my head around that, and the thought of the word mother would make me go, oh, but that's me. But then I realise now that actually both can be true, and both are true. That is our story, and I think it's getting your head around that. But also for you, I think it's things you must think, oh, I wonder, and there's a lot of things to kind of think about from that perspective as well. When you're embarking on this, it's got to be something that you're comfortable with, and that you're aware of, fully aware of what kind of the implications are and how you might feel later on down the line. So what about you, Neve? Do you know whether there's any children been born? Obviously not giving away any timescales or anything.
So I've done a couple of relations, but no, I don't have anything yet. Last I checked in, there'd be no updates because like it says, we just know what our jury knows. So
yeah,
these.
And what would you like to know? Are you similar to Louise or?
I'd like to know, but it's more like of a curiosity thing, like no pressure at all. Like if you want to share, that's it. I'm here. But if not, then that's fine because I mean they've got their own lives and that's fine. I'm okay with that. That's why I did like anonymous donation. So yeah, I respectfully would like to know. But,
yeah, I can understand why. Yeah, you'd want to know that. Yeah, what's come out of doing something so huge like that. So, and what about you, Sarah?
Yeah, so I mean, we got told when obviously the donation had been successful in terms of the couple were pregnant, which was brilliant. And then for me, I had this sort of sense of anxiety because it's a long road. There's 9 months is a long time, and I felt anxious for them because having not even met them, knowing that this is such a precious opportunity for them, and just hoping that they get to that final hurdle. So then when I got the text message to say that yes, it'd been successful, baby was born, and we knew the sex of the baby and the month they were all born in, it was just, I almost felt as emotional as when I gave birth, because I just thought, yes, they've got there. And then that whole sense of dread, thinking, well, now the real hard work starts. And I think for me, I would just, it's not something that plays on my mind occasionally. I think of them and think, I hope they're doing okay. I hope they're not causing their parents too much trouble. But it's more of a nurture rather than a nature thing, and that my DNA is not too much of a problem. But I have been told I was an awful toddler, so I don't know. So that's my curiosity. I just want to know they're doing well, that they're happy, they're healthy, they're safe, and that, equally the parents are coping with it, because it's a massive, like you say, getting your head around all those sort of connotations of mother, mum, mummy. I don't regard myself as their mother. I will never regard them as my children, as so to speak, because I've not done that work. I've not nurtured them. I've not been there to pick them up and hold them when they're crying or they're scared. I've not made the decisions about what school they're going to go to. All these big decisions that we make, and we hope we're doing it right, and nobody gives us a manual. Just for me, that I hope they're doing okay and they're coping, because being a parent is tough. Tough.
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is, no matter how you get there. And I think quite often when you've been through a long journey to get there, you almost say to yourself, well, I'm never going to moan about this. It's going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. And then you get to a point where you think, actually, no, it's okay to say it's hard as well. It doesn't mean you're not grateful for it. But no, that's really good. And that's actually moved on to my next question around how do you feel towards the recipient parents? And you've just answered it there, Sarah. What about you, Neve? Have you thought about how you feel towards those people who are potentially using your eggs to have a child?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of cheering on the sidelines for them. I'm hoping everything's going all right. Just that they're not worried about it. So I actually got my first donation card from one of my recipients, where she spoke about how she'd been to death and she knew what it was like, and she was really grateful that I volunteered to go to that from somebody else. So my next recipient, I gave him a little card and I was like, just I wasn't scared, I wasn't worried. Don't. I didn't want them thinking, oh, I wonder how she's getting along when I'm doing the same, because I'm actually stressing about them. So
yeah. It's such a weird thing, because you go through it and you never meet this person, but there's this connection between you.
Always.
Like, you can't, it's really hard to describe. And I remember knowing that our donor was going for collection, and I was just you know, I hope she's okay, and you almost feel quite detached from it, but you want to know that they're okay, and then obviously you're thinking, I hope they're okay. It's the most incredible thing. What about you, Louise? How do you feel towards your parents?
So for me, I kind of see that like you said about the connection, and the way I see it, like I just see it as like almost like an invisible thread. Like I will always be connected to that, always, like not in a way that I can see, but I feel it, you know. And it's like I know, and I wish I could wish them luck because they're gonna need it. But they're just so much love for them, and their family, like their wonderful new little family that they've got, and like just everyone involved, just pure love.
And yeah, like you say, I really like that invisible thread that kind of ties you together. And yeah, and one of the things I've found as well from my own experience, because we used an anonymous donor, we actually went to the Czech Republic, and I now wish that I'd done something like this, where I'd got more information about her, and I knew that it was an altruistic donation, and that there's that potential for our children to meet in the future. And gosh, I just really wish that I knew more about her now. But at the beginning, I was so scared to know too much because I felt threatened and I felt worried. But more and more now, I think it's the more comfortable I've become in my role as mom, the more I think actually this is our story and this is it. And I think it does take a bit of time, but I know for so many people watching, they'll be sat here thinking, oh, that's exactly what we want from our donor. We want them to be doing it for the right reasons, and for them to be okay, and for that bond to be there, even though we've never met. So we've had a question through to say someone's just been matched with the donor this week through Altrui, and this conversation has been incredibly helpful. Thank you for being so open. I just wondered how you feel and what your thoughts are about when the children born using your eggs potentially reach out when they're 18. So Louise, how do you feel about that? And I imagine you can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, ultimately, it's completely down to the child. I mean, I would love to. I personally, you know, wouldn't see that child as like mine. I wouldn't look at them and go, oh, it's my son or daughter, you know, whatever. I would just look at them and go, wow, you know, how cool, you know, like Sarah said, it's an egg. It was going to go to waste. You know, someone has made something amazing with it. So you know, I wouldn't, you know, have that mother's love for, you know, like when you look at your children. But you know, as I said, so much love to the entire sort of family unit. I would be fine if they reached out, absolutely fine. I would love it. But obviously, you know, you've got that. I would then be thinking, well, how would the mummy feel? How are they okay with it? And would they want to meet me? And you know, all sorts. So I think you've got to be careful that I wouldn't want to tread on anyone's toes, so to speak. But if everybody was happy, then I would be more than happy.
Yeah. And my hope is, I mean, in our situation, that if our girls try to find who our donor is and their genetic mother at some point, that I'm alongside them doing it, and I'm like holding their hand, and it's something we do together, and that they can feel comfortable to express however they feel and find out whatever they want to know, knowing that because you're curious, I'm curious, why would they not be curious as well? And it's that sort of thing, trying to think about how they might feel in the future. And just on that note around the future, and have you started talking to your own children about the fact that you've donated, and is that a conversation you'll have? Yes.
So I've had conversations with both of mine, and they are old enough to understand what's happened. Again, they're just kind of like, oh, that's cool, mum, you know, they don't, but again, you know, they don't see it as a, oh, I've got a brother or I've got a sister, or you know, because I've made it really, really clear it's my, you know, it's my egg, absolutely, but they're the mummy, they're, you know, they're doing all the hard work. So I don't see it and I've made it really, really clear to them that it's like, okay, you know, you don't have a brother or you don't have a sister that you don't know about. But, you know, but then I sort of say, well, you know, it's still a really amazing thing to do. And hopefully they'll want to do it when they're older. I think that would be really, really amazing if they can. And just sort of, I talk them through the process. And, you know, when I was injecting and things like that, you know, one of them was like, can I watch, you know? And I was sort of like, yeah, it's fine, crack on. Just to make it, I think it's not talked about enough. And I think if we start talking to children at young ages and making it normal, then hopefully more people will want to be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's them being aware as well that at the age of 18 they might gain a half sibling, and that's I mean,
I wouldn't see it as a half sibling. I've just seen a comment from Christina that just sort of said, you know, she said it's very confusing, confronting when she hears donors express connection with the child, you know. And I just, Christina, I just want to make it, if you're still watching, really, really clear, like, you know, you are your mum, and it's, you know, it's, we've done this because we can separate emotionally from children created from our eggs. That I just want to make that like really, really good. Like,
and I think not everyone can, and that's fine. I think it is, not everybody would be able to donate. I think it is one of those, a very personal decision, and I think Christina's coming from a situation where she has a child with her own eggs and is struggling to conceive a sibling and is needing to look at using donor eggs. So I think there's an extra dimension in there to think about. But yeah, I mean, her question is, do you see the baby as your offspring, and do you want that child in your future if it was possible? But I suppose there's so many different layers and levels of that. Then yeah,
I don't think, you know, me with I think we've all said we don't see that child as ours in any shape or form. So yeah.
And just coming to you, Sarah, what about you in terms of getting that knock on the door at the age of 18 or finding out more in the future? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think for me, I just hope I'm not too much of a disappointment. And I go, oh, that's our donor. You know, and I think it's really hard because, you know, it'd be great, yes, to meet them and know that they're okay. And I mean, for me personally, I did look into known donor, and I found that actually really tough. So, you know, actually meeting the couple, even in the really early stages, and it wasn't a particularly successful pathway for me. And coming over to Fertility was really useful. And I think because it allowed for that detachment, and I think the fact that, you know, there's going to be 18 years for somebody being mum, dad, you cannot take away putting in that time with that child. And it's not about blood, it's not about DNA. And I say that's one of the key reasons why I donated in the first place, because blood and DNA doesn't make a parent, it doesn't make a mother, it doesn't make a father. It is the person who's there to wipe those tears, to comfort that child, to hold them when they're scared, to, you know, go into the school and, you know, confront the parent in the playground and, you know, pick them up when they've had a night out and bring them home safe. That is being a parent. We're not parents. We are opportunity providers, if you like. We have said, you know what, there's something we don't use every month. You can have it. And we hope and wish you all the best. Honestly, Christina, I do really wish you all the best on this journey. It's tough. And I really think as recipients, there is so much that you have to overcome emotionally. And I can't imagine what that journey's like. And actually, as a woman, you know, I'm not trying to be, you know, push the men out here, but as a woman, trying to overcome that feeling of my body can't do what it's supposed to do, I can't imagine what that's like. And my heart really does go out to you. But no, I can safely say to you, you are mum. Nobody can take that away from you. And if I was to meet them at 18, I'd say, yep, that's great. And, you know, be guided by the family as a whole, how involved, how not involved you wanted to be. it is tough, and there is some very grey areas, but in my opinion, we can never take away, you know, that you are mummy, mother, mama. It's not about blood and DNA. It's about the time you give, the love, the support, the care, and yeah, it's amazing. You know, you're all amazing, recipients and donors.
Yeah, I knew I'd go to that. You've got me.
Yes.
But it's just incredible, isn't it? Because I said incredible again. But yeah, I know, Christina, I know how hard and scary it is, and it really, really is. And that's why I kind of do what I do now, because I know when I was going through it, there was no one talking about it. I just had to kind of feel my way through it myself and navigate my way through it. And I'd never even thought of it. Like, the opportunity to come and listen to some people who were donating would have, I think, really put me at ease and made me realise, okay, these people are doing such an amazing thing and are doing it all for the right reasons. And so it would have really comforted me, I think, to hear these conversations on the lead up. So yeah, Christina's actually just said thank you. I admire you so much, because it's true. I don't think I would have the strength to separate emotionally. Our donor is anonymous. I'm 30 weeks pregnant with our donor egg baby, and I hope that our donor sees things the way you three lovely ladies do. So
congratulations, Christina.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So Neve, just coming to you, how would you feel at that point when the child turns 18, and what would you do in that situation?
I think if it were to speak to me, that would be great. But yeah, like you said, I did anonymous donation because I didn't want that connection. Not saying when they're 18, if they want to speak, they wouldn't speak, but I didn't want to be involved growing up. It's very like, I'm giving you this chance, you can go on with your family and everything, and then when you're, if you want to come and chat, if you want to come and see me, then I'm more than happy to do that. And I think that's just something I kind of own, is not reality related, and I'd never want them kind of growing up going, oh, I want what he looks like or anything, or I wish he was. So if they want that, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'd love it, but at the same time, you don't have to. That's accepted. And successful, yeah.
Yeah, and it's it must be quite a strange situation for you, because you can be open to this, but you kind of lose, there's no control for you really. It's kind of left in the hands of the family and the child, really, in terms of whether or not you're here. So I can imagine that can be quite difficult if you are. I'd be so curious. I really would, because I always want to know everything anyway. So, but yeah, I can imagine, because you are. Yeah, it's not like you have the choice at 18 to contact it. It has to come from them. So just a question that's just come through. Did any of you have any side effects from the hormone stimulation? How did you find that, Neve?
My vaccination, I felt too fine. So I was sitting there going, I've not bloated, nothing really is going on. I feel a little bit nauseous, but it's quite warm, so it could be that. So I was worried that it wasn't maybe working as well as it should have. So yeah, that was the first one. It worked fine. Like everything went going to the scans, and I was like, okay, that looks normal. And the second one, didn't have any nausea. I just felt normal. So it's quite weird to hear quite a lot about all the side effects and that. But for me, probably having to get the needle and poke it in.
Yeah,
Would the worst thing. I didn't like that. So.
That's good to hear, because I think there's often that worry about kind of someone really overstimulating or struggling and having bad after effects afterwards. Yeah, any, Louise or Sarah, did you have any?
No, not especially. I think the last couple of days before collection, I felt so bloated, very heavy. It's a heavy feeling, but that all went away as soon as collection happened. Little bit of bleeding, little bit of pain, but nothing that you couldn't have managed on sort of like a monthly basis. So yeah, I was quite lucky. I think I know, you know, everybody's body is different, and we can't always predict how we're going to feel. But again, your clinic is very supportive. So there's always a number to contact. There's always, you know, somebody you can go to and say, I'm experiencing this, what do you recommend? So, you know, the support doesn't finish just because you've donated and they've collected the eggs. So, you know, don't ever feel like that's it, you're out the door, you're done. There's a lot of support. So yeah, very, very fortunate, but no, not too many side effects at all. And even I know this is a bit of a myth that sometimes we come across, and whether it's a question, I'm jumping ahead, but I actually went on to be pregnant myself. So I had 2 children, donated, and then had another child. So, and it caused me no issues at all.
Yeah. Often there's a question of, does it affect your future fertility, and maybe what's the science behind that? And yeah, because I think the thought of somebody going through this and then to struggle with their own fertility later on down the line would be devastating, really. But yeah, I'm sure in terms of answering that, I'm sure Becky can give more of the factual figures around it. But Louise, what about yourself? Did you have any effects? Or
very similar to Sarah, just unbelievable bloating, but it's not like, it's only short term, and then just because I don't know what happened to my ovaries, but they just went nuts. So I think I had about 22 eggs on my right ovary, but only 9 on my left on one of the donations. So I felt like I was like lopsided. Extra. I was like, okay. And it was just obviously just a little bit more tender. I don't want to say painful, because pain is, it's just a bit tender. That was it. I was lucky I didn't get nauseous like Neve did. It was just, like Sarah, bit of bloating, nothing I can't handle.
I know the bloating well, and I bloated with only a few eggs, so I can't imagine what it's like with that many. And what about talking to your family and your partner? And because obviously this is quite a big thing to do, and did you speak to your partner or your parents about it before you made that decision? Louise, I'll come to you first.
So I'd spoken to my mum. That was when obviously a few days later the Twitter advert came up, and she I mean, this would have been the early 90s when she was looking into it, and it was completely different then. She said, oh, I didn't do it, I didn't want to do the injections and things. And I said, well, I don't really mind. So yeah, they were absolutely fine. They were lots of jokes like, oh my god, who'd want your egg, and all, lots of I was like, thanks very much. But no, everyone was really, really supportive, and even my kids, who were obviously a lot younger at the time, but they were just like, wow, that's really cool. And it's I had nothing but support from, nobody said, oh, why, it was really, really good. And I think when you explain why you're doing it, how can anyone have a negative attitude when you say, oh, I'm doing the best thing you can do for another person? Why not?
And it is incredible. I remember speaking to a donor a couple of years ago, and she said her parents took a lot of getting their heads around it, because everyone's got different levels of understanding, and like we said earlier, everyone's got different levels of how they can detach themselves from it, and kind of what their understanding of it is and how they interpret it. And so it's different for everyone, but it's good to hear that you have that support around you. And what about you, Neve? Did you have a supportive family around you?
So I'd gone into it thinking, I need to get myself all prepared for people to be like really against this, but my family were just straight on board with it. You are aware that you might have some genetic relatives from this, and they're like, yeah, absolutely, go for it. I spoke to my partner, who was like, it's your body, so you do it. And I explained to him that, hang on, if we go on to have kids later on, then have genetic siblings. And he was like, yeah, that's cool and everything. Spoke to his mom as well, and she'd been helping people who'd been like, on that side, just like investing in that stuff. And she was like, that's great. So I was just kind of looking, but kind of waiting for someone to turn around and go, what are you doing? But I didn't have that. It was just really supportive and quite fun. And people asked me, how do I get into it, when I was speaking to friends, which is quite nice as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what about you, Sarah?
From my partner's point of view, he was really supportive and, really happy that what I was doing and actually where the inspiration had come from to do it. And he agreed, again, family isn't blood and DNA sort of thing. And actually, he felt quite passionate about that. I did struggle with my own mum. My own mum said to me that, you know, potentially she's got a grandchild or grandchildren that she's never going to meet. And I said, I appreciate that, what you're saying, but actually they're not children that you've spent the time with. You've not put that bit in. And I said, and you know, you're almost leaping steps ahead here, because what I'm going to do is a really small part of the journey, and I'm just given the opportunity. We've got a lot of hurdles to cross before we get to the point where, you know, hopefully a baby's born and it's a very successful pregnancy. So she sort of said, oh yeah, I see what you mean. She said, you can't live your life like that, because I said, imagine how you would have felt if you couldn't have had me and my siblings, and I couldn't have my children. She sort of, you know, started to turn a bit and think, yeah, actually, you know, I said, the problem is we don't know what these challenges are like until we have those challenges. You know, pregnancy, yeah, it's very accepted, isn't it? Yeah, we can have a baby, we have children, we get on. But actually, until you face those challenges, you don't realise how tough it is. And being an egg donor and seeing it from this perspective and speaking to recipients like yourself, Becky, has really changed my opinion on how difficult a journey this is. And actually, my mum ended up turning around to me saying, but I know you're going to do it anyway, regardless of what I say. I said, yep, that's right. You know, and I don't know if there's potential donors sitting on here today and thinking, oh, you know, what my mum would think or my dad would think. This is your body. You choose what you do with it. And as long as you're okay with it, everybody else will be okay with it, because it is an amazing opportunity. It's a brilliant thing to be able to say that you've done, and you are given an opportunity to somebody. Keep it simple. Think of it simply. You can overthink it, and that's when it gets complicated, I think.
Yeah, and I think quite often people's initial reactions might not be how they feel 6 months or a year down the line, and it takes a bit of getting used, just like it did for me. When someone first said to me, oh, the egg donation is an option, I was like, whoa, there is no way I am doing that. There's no way I'm using someone else's eggs with my husband's sperm to make a child. It just felt really odd and really alien, and yet over time you started to think and see it differently. And I think that can be the case for others as well, and particularly over the course of, say, 18 years, where potentially and you'd imagine that she would have that curiosity as well. And it's, yeah, I think it's important to be open with people, but like you say, it's your decision, and kind of you're the one that's got to really get your head around it and be sure. Someone just commented to say, I'm about to start my first round following a match with Altrui. Thank you so much to all three of you for being so honest and giving up your evening to explain. You are beyond incredible. There's that word again. So it's amazing. And so I've got one more question that was submitted beforehand, and then I'm going to ask you to almost give a message to recipients, which will probably get me all emotional again. But so the last question that was submitted was, did you ever have any second thoughts or regrets, and even if for a fleeting moment, is that something that you've ever experienced? Sarah, I'll come to you first.
Hand on heart, no, never. Not even for a fleeting moment. I am proud to say that I'm an egg donor. I'm proud to say that I gave a family an opportunity. And yeah, I wouldn't hide it. I wouldn't, I'll quite happily talk about it. It is the best thing, or one of the best things I should say, I have ever done in my life.
Yeah.
No regrets, ever.
Yeah, and you should be proud of it. You really should. Thank you. And what about you, Niamh? I see the cats just maybe way behind you.
Away.
That's all right.
The only regret I had is I did look into it when I was at uni, but I put it off because I thought it was going to be really time consuming until after I graduated. And then I actually went to do it. I was like, see, if I'd done it then, I could have had a few more donations in, maybe changed a few more lives and stuff. But yeah, my only regret was just thinking it was going to take more time than it did and putting it off. But now I've done nothing with the donation at all now.
And it's amazing to hear that your motivation for it is to change lives. That's simple, because it's not, you don't get compensated huge amounts. It's not for the money. It's a lot of time to give up. It's a lot of things to do. to do that, but it is ultimately to change lives. And Louise, what about you?
Very much echoing Neve and Sarah's sentiments, not for a single moment, not one.
No. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. So finally, just as we wrap up, in case unless anyone's got any other questions, I just want you to just think about, so that I know there are lots and lots of recipients who are watching this and will watch this, and what would you like to say to them? Just what message would you give? I suppose even if you were speaking to your own recipient. Louise, I'll come to you first.
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't come. I was
sorry, I've picked on you.
I think for me, I just would want to give them a big cuddle and just wish them all the love and luck in the world, and that there is not a day goes by that I do not think about them, not necessarily about the children that have been born, but just about them and their journey through probably some of the toughest times of their lives. And yeah, just I every single day, there's not a day that goes by that they're not in my thoughts, and I'm not rooting for them from the sidelines and just wishing them all the love, and like, you've got my heart. That's it.
So amazing. Thank you. You set me off again. Neve, what about you?
This is quite difficult, but it would just be like, I want them to know that I feel fully informed, I know what's going on, and support about all of it. I'm not scared or anything. I know what's going to happen, and that really I'm doing this for them. So I hope it works out. Even if it doesn't work out, I'm just happy to have played that kind of part, giving them that chance and that hope. And that's enough for me. So no pressure if it doesn't work out, but hope things are going great.
And just, I think it's really important you just say I feel fully informed. I think that's the other worry as well, that people see this but don't feel that fully informed. And so I think what's come across tonight is you've gone into this with open eyes, and you've gone, this is what I want to do, and I'm really confident about this decision. There's no kind of wobbles about, oh, should I do this or not? And that's really amazing to hear. And finally, Sarah, what about you?
I think for me, it'd be just, this is a tough journey, and you have my full support. Take it each day as it comes, and look after each other and look after yourselves, because it is a tough road ahead. And as I say, I can't imagine what it's like to walk in those shoes, but sending you all the positivity and all the love and support we possibly can, because nobody wants this to work out more than we do.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much. And someone's just written a message to say thank you for taking the time to come on and share so openly. It's a tough topic for many of us recipient parents, but I really have come away stronger and with more clarity from this talk. You're all so strong and selfless. I just hope that our donor is as lovely as you all are. I keep thinking that as well. I really appreciate it. You've done something amazing for families like mine. I'll forever be grateful. And I think that echoes the sentiments of everyone else who is listening tonight. And yeah, just thank you so much. And I was just thinking to myself, like, no one can ever work out what comes from nurture and what comes from nature. So what's genetic and what's through the environment. But I really hope that selflessness and that act of wanting to help other people is something that can be genetic and can be passed down, because I would love for my children to have that same quality. And yeah, I think from a recipient parent point of view, we are just so grateful for that opportunity, because yeah, you are literally changing lives. And yeah, I hope you come away from this feeling really good and kind of with a different perspective from it, because I know you can imagine how a parent might feel, but hopefully been able to portray that just through the comments tonight and also through my own story as well. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go and get on with your evening and cool down. I've got redder and redder as we've gone on.
Oh, there is another question, Becky.
Oh, is there? Have I missed that one?
Sorry,
well
I've just seen it come up. I can just.
Yes. So Louise has mentioned she matched with 3 recipient families. Have altruisms changed from the one-to-one matching? Thank you to these amazing ladies who are speaking this evening. So I think your eggs weren't shared between
No,
you donated on 3 separate occasions.
Over a period of about 3 years over that period.
Yeah. So it is worth being aware that donors can donate more than once. So it's a one-to-one with that particular donor round, but they can donate more than once. And that does mean that there are potential for half siblings out there, whether from your own family, but also from other recipient families as well. But there are limits on numbers of times that you can donate and how many different families. So hopefully that answers that. Good spot on that. I'd missed that question.
But yeah, all the eggs that are collected belong to you, the recipient. So it's not just if there's 30 eggs taken, then they don't just go, oh, there's loads, we'll give some out. It's all the eggs belong. I just want to clarify that, Becky.
Yeah.
All the eggs belong to you, the recipient. They are yours.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. So thank you so much, and have a lovely rest of your evening. And thank you to everyone who's joined us. I hope you found it really insightful, comforting, and useful as well. So yeah, thanks again, and speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.